Hi, my name is Gary. I've been doing a series of presentations entitled Deprogramming the Programming. This one here is obviously chapter 4 and I've called it Build Back Better. Before proceeding, however, can I encourage you, the listener, to go onto Telegram and into a channel called Pathways to Resonance, as you'll see on the bottom right hand side of this slide, because without the sort of foundation that's contained in the 3 previous presentations, this one may well be very confronting for you if you don't understand the mindset of where I'm coming from in this whole series of presentations called Deprogramming the Programming. So if you haven't watched them before, please go and seek them out. They are freely available. You can download them and listen to them at your leisure. But progressing straight into this one as your first exposure to this series of presentations may be quite confronting. It may be quite empowering too, so enter at your own risk if you haven't done that, or you can't be bothered, or you're not on Telegram. But I just counsel so you can get a flavour of what I'm presenting and why. So without further ado, let's get into this presentation called Build Back Better. It's chapter 4 of Deprogramming the Programming. What we're going to cover today is what does it actually mean to build back better. We hear this term coming out of governments and places of so-called authority around us, and they're wanting to build back better to their plan by the sounds of things. I want to explore what this might mean on the youth and the future generations, and I sort of want to challenge you to understand my and your responsibility in this place that we may build back better ourselves. So without further ado, let's carry on through the presentation. Build back better. It's a term that's being used by World Authority, World Health Organizations, the United Nations, and a lot of country leaders around the world at the moment, and it's becoming, I would say, a very troubling brand almost of their intentions, and giving us a hint at what they're wanting to do, which is to build back better according to their plans. But it's only their term, and under the covers of that term, it may not have our best interests at heart, both individually and as a species, perhaps. But it's only theirs. It's only branding. It contains a lot of perhaps fear in we must conform to their idea of building back better according to them. And I would ask you, the listener, that if there is some insidiousness in the definition being applied to this term by them towards us, is that what we need to accept? Is that the best we can do? Is their outcome the outcome that we want as individuals and communities around the world? Because if we don't do something about this, then indeed their version of Build Back Better may well be the dominant force on our planet. But I'm going to turn that around. It's only a few words, but there's power in there, and there's fear in there, and there's isolation and everything else. But why don't we just turn this around? If we look at build back better as a term, I would say that we can actually use this in completely the other direction. All we've got to do is add these words to it, and it becomes something meaningful and powerful for the people perhaps to rally around, that we can build back better. That whilst we might not have all the answers, the desire, the energy, and attention can be in building a better place for us all, everybody on this planet who is here to enjoy life and to celebrate and to explore and to be in wonder of everything around us. So simply just adding a couple of words to their term, build back better, and making it we can build back better, immediately starts to push back on the energy that's coming against us. If we go one little step further, and I'm not sure that this one really belongs here, and we just add than you. It's a bit cynical, perhaps, a bit cheeky, and maybe not necessary, but we can build back better than you. What's wrong with that as a sentence? What's wrong with us taking ownership of we can build back better? So let's flip this around. Let's show you where I'm going in my thinking and asking you to explore yourself in the same way so that we can indeed build back better. But before we start exploring that, so we'll just pause that thought for a second. I don't think there's anyone on the planet right now that really has an idea of what the result of building back better, the way we want to do it, the version of that truth that we seek and desire. I would suggest that we don't really have an idea of what that really means or where that might ultimately take us. It's not to say that the journey and the striving towards a we can build back better place for us all to survive and thrive in isn't worthwhile. Of course it is, but there are so many things around all of our societies globally that need to be changed, that to come up with that global picture of this new fantastic world that we want to build back better, we haven't put a lot of energy into discovering and exploring what that could mean to us, how we live, the amount of hours we're working, who has food, who doesn't, who has access to clean water, who doesn't, all of those issues which are not trivial. There's not a single place anywhere I can see at the moment that really has a one concise view that most people would line up to. So I think we've got to acknowledge that the journey is worthwhile, the we can build back better part, but we've got a lot of learning to do as we venture forward into building our world back better than the world they want us to receive as their build back better. So we can build back better. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Absolute trust in humanity that good will prevail, and that we'll end up in a better place. But do we really have a picture of what it might mean and what it might look like? It seems difficult to identify one that's really working today. But the journey, the exploration, the putting one step in front of each other, there is no harm in venturing out and learning about yourselves and learning about those around you. But our target must shift, right? There's a few fundamental things that we have to do here and acknowledge that we need to put down as we're traveling. One is this idea of profit. Profit has nothing to do with money. It's been stolen from us and applied to currencies around the world and making money. The very language we use has been stolen. So profit, the meaning of the word profit, has to be taken back. If not verbally and not perhaps in dictionaries as yet, certainly in our minds and as communities, we need to put down the idea of profit being currency related. And let's have a look at what it means to profit from doing good. Let's have a look at what it means if we can let nature profit from our actions. Let's see what it means if our communities can profit from our endeavours, and none of which needs to be tied or linked to just currency. That is such a narrow view of what profiting and being profitable should actually be. And as we get into the real aspects of what it would take to enable us, we can build back better. I think we need to focus everything we've got on the children and the youth that are coming behind the generations that are here now. I think we've got to break down the programming. If we go back to the title of the series of presentations about deprogramming the programming, I think we've really got to start teaching our kids new programming, programming about adventure and exploration and about discovery and about intrigue and mystery, not how just to conform into a world of working for the rest of your life, struggling through this journey we call life. I I think we've got to open our arms up and draw back the elderly into our communities and societies. When we put them out into old folks' homes and kind of very much slap them in the face to say they're no longer of use to society because they cannot physically function or perform some work activity, the result has been all of these old folks' homes basically acting as God's waiting room for all of these elderly people in our society that have so much knowledge and they just want to share, they want to contribute. Why are we pushing our elderly out of the places they belong and into these well dressed up, comfortable jails to just sort of wither away and die? If we're going to take profit back and we're going to make sure it's good for everything around us, if we're going to help the kids today see a brighter future for themselves than the ones that we perhaps were shown, surely we must bring back the elderly into our communities, into our homes and into our societies so that they may impart their wisdom and knowledge of learning on those coming after them instead of being isolated and almost outcast by society. And we must restore our family units. You know, the very essence of life is to be born into a caring, loving family, and I'm certainly not saying that everyone's journey through life has been through a loving, caring family. But the family unit itself is severely under attack right now, and there's reasons why it is being attacked, and if it is indeed then a target, the very reason that it is a target should drive us forward to restore the family unit that's being pulled apart in our societies today. And we must extend that family unison, that family collectiveness, and spread it out through our communities. Our communities need to be a safe, supported place for us to grow up and learn and flourish in. Except now today, when we look around the world a lot, that a lot of communities are very scary places to be. Locked doors everywhere, bars on windows coming up. This is not my view of how we can build back better. This is how insidious we've allowed the decay of our society to become. We have to reverse that. We have to have communities that are supportive, where we know and trust each other, where we're not scared to lend a hand and to help somebody who might be in need. And these are challenging things when this slide is now completed. There's a lot of work to be done, a lot of effort required. And like I said, I don't think that we have a clear definition of where we're travelling. But if we accept their version of building back better, this decay that's even on this slide is just going to get more worrying, more troublesome, and drive isolation between all of us. It's not the world I want to be in. Our food has to be grown locally. Our food has to be grown locally. The global trade fiasco needs to be put down. We need to produce locally in countries and only be importing what we cannot produce. We need to eat food that is seasonal. We don't need to expect some foreign food to be shipped all over the world just to give us that flavour experience at a time in our climate and our seasons where that normally wouldn't actually happen. We need to embrace technology. It's being used again for profit right now. There's greed and power and corruption at the hand of applying technology into societies today. It's not the technology that's wrong, it's the application. So we need to change focus away from profit using technology into being users of technology that actually support our communities and support the nature around us and make our lives easier, not make them harsher and more direct and brutal places to be in. By clocking on and clocking off and expecting emails to be returned a split second they've been sent. We need to use technology with grace and consideration for the ones around us and for the home that we live on. We must restore the damage we've done in nature. we seem so puffed up that we just want to be consumers without thought of a finite resourced planet. We just consume and gay abandon like there is no end to anything, and almost bugger the cost to nature. I just want my new whatever it is. This is not the way of we are building back better. This is a way that we're actually destroying our home. We need to work a lot less. We need to use technology smarter. We need more leisure time. In Australia, one of the actuary table elements that I was taught was that 96% of Australians are dead or dead broke at the age of 65. If that is true, that is an outpouring of the education systems, the way the children are being programmed. It's also an indication to me that what we're doing in our communities and allowing to be done towards us in the name of profit is costing people their very lives. When I sat back and worked out the numbers from 65 years old to day zero of our lives, you ended up getting less than 15 years of your own life to live, to actually call it your life. The rest of that time has already been lost out of those 65 years to working, sleeping, and conducting all the chores of maintaining homes and food and kids into school and all of those other commitments. We ended up at 65 having just lived just a bit less than 15 years of our own life. So when we read the headings about working less, I really mean it. We need to be in societies where perhaps we're working one day a week only, and the rest of the time is being utilized for better outcomes. We need some method of currency. I think it's important to have some value exchange that's easy to carry and hold and use. But we need to even when we're spending that money, we need to not think about profit, but more an exchange of energy, perhaps. Because if we go back to the old ways of profit only, then we enter the world of lust and greed and deceit and dishonor. That can't be the way. That can't be one of the elements of the foundation for we can build back better. We need to get away from selfishness, hate, deceit, lies, corruption, greed, toxicity, crime. Our version of we can build back better needs to put down all the programming that we were given from when we were children, and it's a challenging things to do. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lumpy, bumpy road as we decide to venture out and discover ourselves in this new world that we want to build. The we can build back better part for us. And we don't need to fight and attack each other. We actually should be celebrating our differences. We should be trying to learn from the others around us who hold different views. We don't need to judge anyone if their actions aren't hurting the planet and they're not hurting anybody else. Why do I have to push them aside, throw a label on them, judge them and write them off? Why can't we instead take a mindset by putting down the old programming? If we go back to the heading of deprogramming the programming, we put down the old programming and we actually start to see people's differences as causation for celebration in some ways. That we've all got something to learn from each other. Why aren't we focused on taking the joy that we are all actually so different rather than using that as a weapon to fight against ourselves? So I've mentioned before that we need to restore the elderly back into our communities. We need to actually physically go and rescue them from the old folks' homes, even if that is taking children in to see them so that the children can spend time. And the life that a child brings into the old folks' homes, just amazing if you've ever seen it. So if not physically going and getting our old folks out of the old folks' homes, which I'd still advocate is certainly worth exploring, they would just be revitalized and re-energized should we pay them the attention that they deserve. We need to rescue our kids from schools. They're being taught how to enter a machine that will consume their very life energy for the next 65 years until, in Australia example, until they're dead or dead broke. That's not the sort of programming that I want our children and the generations to come to be enslaved under, not a day longer. If it means that we've physically got to take them out of school, so be it. But if it means that we've got to hold our teachers and the educational institutions to different outcomes, so be that too. They are the holders, these young people, of the future world. They are vitally important. And if we need to physically go and rescue them from our schools right now, so be it. And then we can start creating the family unit. You know, we've got children who are being taught exploration, wonder, discovery, real things, love, communication, compassion. We've got elderly starting to re-interact and starting to rain their wisdom down on the young folks. We're starting to build community together. We need to be open and welcoming. We need to just reteach ourselves the way that nature actually works. And when I mention the word nature, I'm not just limiting there to trees and bushes and birds in the sky. I'm talking about a universal nature. I'm talking about our nature of being spiritual beings. I'm talking the nature of our very consciousness, how that works, and how can we advance ourselves to being part of the nature that's around us rather than fighting against it. We need to think about perhaps advancement as, you know, when you see the long crops that are blowing in the breeze with the wind going over the crops and it just looks absolutely beautiful. This is the mind picture I'd like you to hold for a moment. The wind should be that we are collectively trying to advance ourselves all the time, for we can build back better. We've got to deprogram the programming, however, to achieve these results. But things like advancement, compassion, wonder, these should be the wind that's behind our sails as we venture forth on our journey into a new, built back better world. We need to be enjoying life. We need to be celebrating it. We need to have fun. And we need to rebuild these really important cornerstones for whatever shape the new community, the new world of the future is built upon. It needs to be these very cornerstones of life, that of joy, abundance, celebration, discovery, community, compassion, love, caring and consideration. These are the things that this new we can build back better world needs to rest upon. And we need to rein in technology, reapply it, use it for advancement rather than enslavement, as is the case today in many cases. And as part of what I mentioned that said that we really don't know what the actual final state, for want of a better term, really means, have a look at some of these questions here and understand how large some of this task actually is and why there isn't a single view that sort of presents us a very clear, pristine picture of what that future might actually look like and what it might feel like to be living in that time. There are a lot of unknown answers waiting to arrive once we start to ask ourselves better questions. And they're not going to be easy to overcome. But if we can build back better ourselves, then we must apply ourselves to this change today. The immediacy of putting down the programming, the immediacy of we can build back better has never been more imperative than it is today. So we can build back better than you. We have to understand what that means to us. We have to put down all the programming and we have to pick up instead ourselves in a responsible life to build community around us. We need to focus on the youth. We need to set them free of the bondage of entering into a life of working hard and basically sacrificing the bulk of their lives to working in a machine that does not have their best interests at heart. it is imperative that if we want to, we can build back better. If we want that to be a reality, it will be on the youth of today upon whose shoulders that will reside. And we have to prepare the way for them now. We cannot wait anymore. Otherwise, somebody else's view of Build Back Better is going to be delivered to us. And the end result of that is very worrying indeed. So if we want to build back a better world right now, we have to focus on the young kids. They are the owners of tomorrow. And I just want to, this is where perhaps it gets a bit tough as we go through this material. I just want to take you on a little bit of a journey here about what that actually means when we start looking at what we're doing and the examples we're showing the youth of today in our actions, because they watch us. You might not understand it, you might not have even thought about it before, but everything you do, the youth of today are looking at us. They are watching us and they are learning from us. So if we want them to have a better future, we want them to be the holders of a movement of creating a better world, the we can build back better world that we want, it is the example that we are giving our children and the youth. This is the place that they will learn from. The responsibility of that action, I have to put at the feet of the listener, because it is your behavior that they are watching. It is upon each of us to hold ourselves now to challenge ourselves greatly, to live in a much better way, to put down all of the old program and choose using our free will and be resolute in our choices to help the kids of today make a better world in the future. They watch you do all of this, right? They watch you purchase what you don't need. They watch you waste the money. They watch you purchase on items that you thought would make you happy, and when you got them 3 days later, they were almost disregarded. They watch us waste. They watch us waste so much. They watch us wasting our lives by watching entertainment on a television, on a box. They watch us playing with electronic toys. They watch us being distracted from the very instance of being alive and awake in your own life. They watch us fight and argue. They even watch us when we fight for a car park and we get so violently angry that someone's affronted us a little bit. They see these things. They learn from the witness that you are giving them. They watch us cheat in the name of profit. They watch us try and gain an advantage on somebody around us just because that's what we were taught we had to do. They watch us hate each other. They watch us in our sad times, in our angry times, in our bitter times. They watch and they learn from us all the time. They also watch us love and care and have compassion. The responsibility of we can build back better resides at the feet of you, the listener to this presentation, because it is you that the youth is watching today. Do they see us doing any of these things? Do they see us perhaps tripping and falling, but holding fast to get back up and to continue to move and acknowledge the experience of tripping over as an experience only, something that we can build upon? Or do they watch us being consumed by it? Do they watch us making mistakes and admitting to ourselves that we need to circle back to correct them? Do they watch us being flexible and taking on change and embracing it and exploring what it means to us? Do they see us taking on the responsibility for our actions individually? Do they see us not needing to ring the police or some authority to sort out some squabble? Do they see us calling in people to tell somebody else that somebody else is wrong? Or do they see us stepping up and gently extending a hand out to reach out to someone who may be indeed doing something wrong, but Do they see us trying to build that bridge ourselves, or do they see us just outsourcing it to some other authority around us? Do they see us encouraging them to explore who they are, to explore their own feelings, and to explore the very gift of this thing we call life? These decisions and the decisions of our actions on the previous two slides are yours. They're not going to come from somewhere else. This new "we can build back better" isn't going to be delivered by some white knight riding in on a bright shiny horse to save us all. This is the world where we have to put down the programming that's been given to us and pick up instead our own consciousness about who we are, what do we stand for, and what are we striving to create, because our children are watching us. Their eyes are upon you, the listener, and the way you react and treat other people, and what motivates you. The youth of today, the holders of the world tomorrow, are learning from you. If we are going to build back better, for we can build back better, the foundations for that world are laid before you today, in the next half an hour, the next hour, the morning or the evening when you're listening to this, and how you are going to conduct yourself going forward, what you're going to put down the programming and replace it with. These decisions can only come from you. The actions you are going to take in the future are yours. We need to be consciously aware of the decisions we're making, who's watching us, the holders of the world tomorrow, but also what's motivating us. Because they watch you and they learn from you. And as I've indicated, this new world is not coming from any external source. There is only, at the moment on this planet, authority, law, governance, government, another global organization telling us that they want to build back better with their agenda. I cannot identify anywhere else on this planet that this new world is going to come from other than us. They have a view of it, they've thought about it, they've designed their version of build back better, but today is the day that we have to pick up this challenge ourselves and start to create indeed a world that is better for us, because the answers from that is only going to come from a single place. You are the holder of the answers to your questions. You just need to be brave enough to ask yourself better and better questions. Why do I react badly? Why do I get angry? Why don't I extend my hand of friendship? Why don't I help somebody who might obviously be in need the moment I see them? Why do I walk away from the opportunity to help somebody else? Because I don't want to be involved in their business. These are the decisions that we have to take. These are the decisions that you have to take if we want to lay this foundation down for a brave new world where we have built what we want, where it hasn't been delivered to us with some insidiousness coming from some other place that is coming to oppress us. You are the holder. You have the keys with you to unlock the new world that we want to be part of, but it takes you being responsible for your own actions, your own life choices today, to see that world come into being a reality. And as I've said, it's a tough walk, right? We've got to put down all of the programming that's been given to us. We've got to envisage and imagine and move towards living in a world where we are on a discovery path. We don't necessarily have all the answers yet, but we need to remain steadfast to changing the experience of life on this planet, away from profit, greed, lust and power, into one of love, compassion, community and well-being. Right? We have to respect this gift that we were given called life, and we have to pick up the challenge to ensure that those coming behind us enjoy life to the fullest that they possibly can, and that they're living in loving, caring, supportive communities and countries around the world. We have to be mindful that we're not slipping back into our old habits, and this is not going to be easy because we've all been programmed this way, some of us for many, many decades. We have to watch ourselves and hold ourselves accountable not to slip back into habits that are old and that didn't serve us. Because it's like this for me. The Build Back Better version that's supposedly going to be delivered to us sometime in the very near future, built by others according to their definition, feels very much like a wall to me. It feels like a prison to me. And it seems to be built on some pretty scary words and objectives and places, frankly, that I would compel no one to move towards. And brick by brick, over perhaps hundreds of years, but in certainly recent decades, these bricks are being gently and quietly built in around us. You only have to think of terms that are being used, social distancing being one of them. It is absolute insanity to believe that social distancing is a term that we should even have any idea of what it means. You cannot be social and hold distance at the same time. Social distancing in this regard is propaganda. What it actually means is isolation. So I need look no further to see lies. I don't need to look any further to see control and deceit coming even out of those simple terms like social distancing. Brick by brick by brick, these prison walls are being built up around us. This is certainly not a Build Back Better that I want anything to do with any time in the future. I'd rather see us let all that fade away and move towards focusing on a world more like this, right? We need to turn our attention away from those that would tell us they can build back better for us and immediately start our journey back into nature, our own nature. And as I've indicated, we might not even know where this trail is going to lead us, but we need to commit ourselves at least to taking the next step and then the next. And we need to return back to nature, our nature of love and compassion. For if I replace and overlay onto this graphic the words that were being used on our brick wall before with a few others, I know which set of words and what they mean would attract me more. Because you have to ask yourself, in your old behaviours, you're helping that wall being built. In the new behaviour, within the next half an hour, within the new discovery you might make about yourself, can I task you, please, the listener, to make decisions to help us all move into this world where we've put down the propaganda, we pay no attention to the media around the world telling us to be in fear and socially distant isolation from each other? Or do we move into a world of trust and compassion, honesty, balance, joy? Do we wonder and marvel at life? Do we try and immerse ourselves in what it is to love ourselves and to be loved by others and to share our love with others in return? Do we turn our back on the stone cold, brutal, hard brick wall that's being built around us and start to rebuild our community, start to rebuild our family units, start to restore balance around us? This is a tough decision that we need to make as personal individuals. These are even harder decisions to hold on to when we start to venture out into our communities or rebuild our families. But we have a choice right now. We allow a world that they are saying build back better to be delivered to us by people and by energy and force that may not have our best interests at heart. Or do we put down the view of the brick wall and rather cross this bridge back into who we actually are supposed to be? And if you remember that there's no white knight coming over the horizon to save us all, This can only come from you as the listener to this presentation. It is not for the faint of heart, but if we don't commit ourselves to this complete 180-degree turn away from what's coming at us, I have grave fear for the future. But I also see great optimism and great celebration if we can indeed hold ourselves accountable, firstly individually and then collectively as families and communities, that we can indeed build back better in this direction. It is not for the faint of heart, but it has to come from you, the listener to this presentation, and from me. I wanted to share with you a saying that I use a lot, and it's called "Art will save the world." Now, initially that doesn't make sense, and let me just explore this with you, because your mind goes to perhaps music or painting, and that's natural. It's part of the programming you were given about what art actually represents. The ironic thing is that in even that picture, if you hold that picture in your mind for a second and you think of Van Gogh or Bach or Chopin, these people lived often really brutal lives. They excelled at what their art actually was, and the gift that they gave us from when the times they were alive are amazing. They're absolutely timeless, right? But a lot of these people were almost outcast by the society that everybody had been programmed into. So even at the level of art being music and painting, think about the model of what the people had to be to achieve the art that they gave us, this timeless gift that speaks to us from sometimes centuries ago. So it's the art. If we expand the word, expand the definition, art, to include the actions of your life. Art will save the world takes on a whole new meaning, because the art of how you conduct yourself in your life with the youth of tomorrow watching you matters beyond all things. The art of you taking back the responsibility for your life and your actions is the art that will indeed allow us to build back better our way, because we can build back better. But it takes you, the individual, to understand that you are the conductor, you are the brush holder of the art that you are creating in your own life. And the choice to apply it is yours. Because it's this art that will save the world. It is your art, your decisions, the way you conduct yourself, the energy that you're attracting, the energy you're putting out. You are the Van Gogh or the Chopin of your own life. But you have to pick up the responsibility to conduct yourself in a new world, in a new way, if you believe that we can build back better, which I absolutely hold steadfast to. Then it is your art that will actually save the world. Because the decision is easy, right? Do we want this? Do we want to hold this frame? Do we want these walls to be built around us? Do we want to be isolated, entrapped and enslaved, and in some regards imprisoned, or perhaps worse, by the delivery of a build back better world given to us by other energies? Or do we want to see that fade away and move back to what our own nature actually is, and where we should actually have been focused all along? No one was wrong. It was just what we were given. It was the programming that was given to us that led us to this place. But no one can take away your free will choice to turn your back on that world and start to venture across this bridge with me. For this is our home. The one of compassion, love, consideration, caring, and responsibility. Personal, community, and country, and global responsibility to live better. Because it's your choice, your choices, your art. Right now, having had you listen to this presentation, that will save the world. It's not for the faint of heart, but if we want to create cornerstones upon which future generations can stand on our shoulders and build back better than we allowed to have happen around us, then it's you in this moment that needs to be the conductor of your life, to pick up the responsibilities for your actions and to start caring for yourself and those around you in a new way. So I fervently believe, absolutely unequivocally believe, that we can indeed build back better. But notice the word we. It means you are included in that. You have to take your responsibility and you have to decide which world you're going to be part of in this very instant. Because we can build back better than those that would tell us that their way is the right way for us. That's basically the end of this presentation. I just wanted to put up a couple of really quick slides. If you're looking for this material, it's going to be captured as a video file and loaded into Telegram. And you'll find it at this Telegram channel or group called Pathways to Resonance. And the file name there is below you, so you can download that and listen to this presentation again if you wish, or find it and share it, because I certainly release this material being copyright free to you all. So take a note of this if you want to come and download it so you can play it again. And then lastly, as part of my actions of trying to build a society that's better, I've launched a website under the banner that wecanbuildbackbetter.com. It resolves to another domain name, so don't be scared. It resolves to up the tree of knowledge rather than down a rat hole. But for ease of remembering, everyone should be able to remember wecanbuildbackbetter.com. Please feel free to come in and register. At the time of doing this presentation, there wasn't much material in there, but it's the function that we should be exploring the application of, not necessarily the content. So I'd welcome you that you come and visit and register, sign up at this website. And then next week I will be doing another presentation under the theme of deprogramming the programming, and that one will be focused on communication. So if you enjoyed this, I'd welcome you to circle back into that Telegram group, Pathways to Resonance, and start to come looking for these presentations as they're produced for you. Thank you very much for your time, and if you want to ask me any questions, I am an active member in Telegram. Please come and find me, seek me out, and ask away. Thank you very much for your time.